Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Power Talks. And today's conversation is going to be one of those rare interactions where data meets creativity and logic finds its rhythm, right? So, our guest is someone who turns data into stories and ideas into impact. And welcome, Alessandro, a data scientist, public speaker, and musician, joining us all the way from Germany. And from decoding complex data models at Kinanagar to hosting podcasts and building smart home projects on his Raspberry Pi. So, Alexandro, your journey it reminds us that innovation isn't just about writing code, but also about staying curious, playful, and creative. So let's get into the session. And before we get into the formal session, I was very curious when Shakti told me that you're from Germany, and I've done my PhD in culture studies. So here was my first question, which is not at all technical. But yeah, I've worked my way to make it a hybrid. So you work in Hamburg and you speak Italian and you engage with global communities, right? So how does culture influence the way you approach technology and problem solving?
Yeah. First of all, thanks for the invitation, for introducing me. As Italian who lives in Germany, I think I do see the influence that a different culture has on me whenever I have to work on new problems or implement new solutions, or whenever I have to design something new. Now it's been 7-8 years that I'm here, so it's quite a while. Your question reminds me that I have an article in draft on Medium, which is about, the title is the story of a data scientist who lives in Germany. So because there are a lot of things that I would like to share about this, a lot of things that kind of influenced me in a very positive way, Yeah, so maybe we will probably elaborate more during the podcast, but you actually reminded me that I have an article on draft and I want to continue.
All right, yeah. Okay. Yeah. Now, for the students and startup founders being our audience, how can someone who isn't a data geek, still use data thinking to make better decisions in business and creativity?
Yeah. I guess since I'm an engineer, I always focus on things that you can actually implement, solutions and tools that you can use for your business. The answer that I can give is that nowadays, even if you don't know how to code, you can find the right tool for you. I have a couple of examples. Nime with the K is a tool you can use for analyzing data, and it has a very high level drag and drop UX, and allows you to do a lot of things. So even for small businesses, where you don't have maybe the possibility of hiring developers or data scientists, you can give tools like this to your marketing team or whoever wants to kind of be close to the data field, more to the data field. You can give them this tool and empower these people to do more than just like looking at numbers, but you can also interact with those numbers. And nowadays we do have this possibility. Maybe before it was just for a few people who knew how to code, but now this is kind of it has been open to anyone. Yeah.
Right.
Or another example is probably NA10, since a lot of people are talking about it.
Yeah, that's an empowering way to begin. But a data thinking is not just a technical skill, but it is a mindset, and it's exciting how accessibility to data-driven thinking can actually unlock creativity to so many non-technical fields as well. So now How does your creative side, whether through music or building projects, influence the way you approach data science or automation or problem solving?
Well, my so my I think that my mindset is a mindset of someone who um, is keen on doing several things. Like I'm not really not. This is what I say about myself. I'm not just a data scientist. I do a lot of things, and everything starts from a problem. So I maybe have a problem that I want to solve, and that problem is forcing me to do more, to learn more, maybe to dive into a new technology that I didn't know before. And this is super important for me, because without that kind of trigger, I'm not able to maybe dive into a new technology or a new solution, new design of, I don't know, something that I want to build. Is the first thing that I have in my in kind of in my mind. The first thing the first trigger that I have is, okay, I want to solve this problem. It doesn't matter if it's something that comes from music or automating something at home or from work, of course, but it has to be a very strong, very powerful trigger. I have an example. This is something I'm working on right now. It's more like a personal project I just started, and the idea is that whenever I play music at home and I'm just I don't know, like testing a new sound or just playing for fun, the problem that I have is that sometimes I don't record myself, which is completely fine because I'm just maybe testing a new instrument or things like this. But I wish I can do it all the times, but I forget. So I'm working on a solution that puts together my Raspberry, some NA10, and some other hardware and software solutions to have some sort of recording happening real time. Every time I play, there is some sound that is coming from my instruments. And the beauty of this is that I'm putting together so many technologies and so many things that I didn't know before. So it is forcing me to have new challenges and say, okay, how can I solve this thing? I didn't know. I know how to design it, but I didn't know how to solve this specific problem. And that forces me to learn something new.
Right. Now, I actually love that connection, the idea that creativity fuels logic. And it's a proof that innovation often happens when art and analytics, they go hand in hand and instead of staying in their own corners. Now, you're known for making complex data concepts easy and very engaging for both technical and non-technical audiences. Now, how do you discover your knack for public speaking, and why is data advocacy so close to your heart?
The first time I was kind of on stage presenting something was maybe 2017 or 16, and it happened because someone sent me a message. Someone from Meetup. I don't know if you know the Meetup website application. Someone sent me a message and they were like, yeah, we see that you're working logistics. Maybe you have something to present. We see that you're doing some dynamic pricing. Maybe you can present something at our next meetup. I liked the idea, but I was also a bit skeptical because I thought maybe I don't really have anything to present. I don't know. I'm not sure about it. But I was also really into meetups back then. And I think this is something that people, whoever started in data science back in 2016, 2015, knows very well, which is how much the community was giving to the people that were into the field. It was really complicated. The cloud, all these new cloud solutions were popping up, and it was really complex to understand how to use them and when to use them. So meetups and the communities back then were giving a lot to the people, and it was basically people like me going to a meetup and say, okay, I'm using this and I'm sharing it for everyone for free. And I had this opportunity and was like, okay, I see that a lot of people are doing it already. For me, maybe I can also give something back. But I didn't know that my story was so interesting. I thought it was just like random story. But it was resonating a lot with people. It did resonate a lot with people. And that was a huge feedback for me because I wasn't expecting it. And I was like, okay, maybe I enjoyed that, enjoyed like being on stage and sharing something. But what I enjoyed the most was giving back something to the community, to those people who were also helping me a few months back. And that also made me realize that whenever you work in a field like data science or AI, you take a lot of things for granted because you belong to that field. So you don't see that maybe someone else from, I don't know, like maybe a marketing team, they don't really have the kind of, like they don't belong to that field, so they don't really see the things as you see them. And yeah, and that helped me a lot to understand, okay, maybe if I go out and I share something, I will resonate with people, I can help people, and it will also help me to understand what people are looking for. And then I started like this kind of data advocacy thing. And now I probably go to too many conferences. I should slow down maybe. Yeah.
Okay, yeah. That is actually inspiring because turning the intimidating world of data into conversations people can relate to.
Yeah.
So it really shows how communication is just critical as computation, in today's world.
And I get a very strong feedback from people because whenever I do something, I share something, see people coming to me with even more questions, and they're like, okay, you were really inspiring me. I didn't know about this technology. I didn't know about this solution. And now I have a lot of follow-up questions. So I see that the feedback is really strong.
Right. I think it's very important to relate to the audiences. That would make them, more triggering. Now with AI and coding agents changing the tech landscape that we've been witnessing, and it's rapidly changing, by the way. So what's one myth about data science or AI that you wish everyone knew or understood before?
You mean before diving into the field itself? Yeah. I guess the main focus should be problem solving. So problem solving will stay forever, regardless the tool, the language that we use. And if you focus on problem solving, you're basically saying, okay, I have a problem and I need to design a solution for it. And then after this step, I'll go to the step where I have to decide which tool I have to use. It doesn't matter if we're talking about a specific programming language or a specific AI tool, doesn't really matter, but it has to start from problem solving, and you need that mindset. It also, in this case, it doesn't matter if you are coming from data science or another field. If you are that kind of user, even if you don't know how to write code, it doesn't really matter. But if you are that kind of user who knows how to design solutions, that's the place where you have to start from. So you need to start from problem solving and designing solution, and then you move to the tool. Unfortunately, I see that now. I don't really want to say unfortunately, because this also creates a lot of opportunities for me because I have to step in and help people. But I see that a lot of companies, a lot of individuals also are failing when they have to design a solution and they start from the tool itself. Especially right now with all these new AI tools, people start from the tool. They say, okay, I have an agent and I can let this LLM do everything. And I don't have to think about the actual solution that I want to implement. And of course, this creates a lot of problems. And that's why I'm saying that I have to step in to help people to work in the right direction. And this also reminds me of something that I heard like a few days ago when I was in Porto during a conference, and someone approached me and they were like, maybe we need your help because we're working with these agents, and they explained the problem that they were trying to solve. And And I saw that the main problem that they had was not about agents, but was about how they designed the whole solution. Because all my questions was just like, I wasn't providing any kind of real help. I was just asking questions. But all my questions were leading them to understand that maybe they didn't design the solution that they had in place in the proper way. So the solution was not well kind of implemented, regardless of the agents. Maybe they were going in the right direction with the agents, but the whole solution was not well designed. And that's always a problem. It doesn't matter if you can do things quick now. You still have to start from problem solving and then move to the tool.
Exactly. So that's actually such a relevant point because
Yeah.
with so much hype around AI, it's actually refreshing to hear insights that reminds us where human mind still leads the mission, right? And yeah, so now you being a big Raspberry Pi fan with self-hosted projects using N810 and
Yeah.
home automations. So, can you share a fun or a surprising project that taught you something unexpected about data automation or problem solving?
Yeah, the many, but lately I had to play a lot um, with this kind of Telegram bot. It's a simple one. I mean, on paper it was simple because I wanted to create something for just for fun with for my group of friends essentially, which is connected to a Medium article that I wrote a few months ago about fine-tuning an LLM with 5 years of Telegram messages. So the idea was to force the LLM to kind of talk like me based on these messages. And I probably will present this in a future conference. And I was spending a lot of time on that project. And then I decided to put everything together and create a proper Telegram bot with NA10. On paper, that was something easy, but it actually created a lot of questions and a lot of problems that I had to solve, a lot of follow-up problems. One of them was to try to have a local LLM on my Raspberry. I have a Raspberry 5, which is one of the latest Raspberries around. So it's kind of powerful, but it's still, you can think of it as a smartphone almost. And so having an LLM that is running on such a small machine is kind of complicated, but it's doable. All of my challenges were around working with such a small LLM, which is very different compared to working with an LLM from a cloud provider. Because when you work with ChatGPT from OpenAI, what you do is not always directly sending queries to the LLM, but instead what happens is that you have some agents under the hood that are taking your query and doing some query expansion, so basically making your query a bit better for the final LLM. But when you work with an LLM directly, especially if it's a small LLM, as I was doing for this project, you have a lot of challenges because sometimes the LLM hallucinates a lot, and you have a lot of issues with forcing the LLM to stop because sometimes the LLM doesn't know when to stop, and this is also a huge problem. And also prompt engineering is a real thing for those small LLMs. You really have to put a lot of thoughts into designing a prompt that will force the LLM to do exactly what you want it to do. So there were a lot of things that I knew because these concepts were not new for me, but I had to tackle these things in a different way because I had a small machine, I had a small LLM, I was working with NA10s. So yeah, it is one of those cases where I have to do something that I know how to do, but then there are a lot of things, a lot of follow-up problems or questions or challenges that are basically forcing me to learn something new. Everything was packed into an NA10 workflow with a lot of like different branches and so on. Yeah.
Right. Now, that's fascinating, to see small personal projects that can often teach us something more than a large-scale data system can't actually. So yeah, with now with talking about the coding agents and AI shaping the job landscape, what advice would you give to young engineering students or techies looking for a future or future proof or something with
Yeah.
careers?
Yeah. I literally got the same question from many students last week in Porto during this conference. And the first thing that I say is that I had the same questions as a student 10 years ago. So for me, AI is not really kind of disrupting, it's not changing how the questions that the students have now. So it's not really creating more issues so the students have to find a solution to be successful in their career. I think this was happening also 10 years ago. And I remember myself having the same questions. When I wanted to work as a data scientist, I was always like, yeah, I'm studying this stuff, but are they going to be useful? Am I going to use them for real? Will I find a company that will allow me to, I don't know, work as a data scientist and do some machine learning? So I had these questions back then. So I think that we still have the same problem. So this is always true. Of course, now with AI, things are changing really fast, and probably students see this as well. But it's not different from 10 years ago. Technologies are changing very fast, and when you are a student, you always have this fear of missing out. I was also talking about this in during my podcast, one of our episode, and we were saying one person, Miguel, said, I want people to focus on the joy of missing out, not the fear of missing out. Because the fear of missing out is always creating a lot of stress and like, I don't know what to do. And you spend more time trying to copy with it and understand what to do next, which technology, and you do a lot of research. And my approach is more like, okay, just embrace it. You're gonna miss out some stuff, but the only way you have to understand where you should focus, because you have so many inputs now, the only way is to dive into the field and then touch it with your hands. And what I tell to the students is like, now it's too early for you, and I had the same questions, it's too early for you to understand what's the best technology and what is the job that you're gonna do, and what are the tasks that you're gonna do in 6 months. But instead, focus on something that you like. You will find new challenges, you will find new technologies, focus on that. And then, of course, I mean, you should check the trends. Trends are also important sometimes. But the first thing is like, okay, find something that you like. You will see that there are a lot of challenges around it. And then even if you're learning a technology that you're not going to use as a data scientist in your future job, but that kind of mindset will help you whenever you have to switch from that technology to another technology. It's like working on AWS. It doesn't matter if you're going to move to Google Cloud. Of course, you have to learn some new stuff, but the mindset is the same. You know how to work with the cloud. That's what you want to do. You want to know how to work with the cloud. It doesn't matter if it's AWS or Google Cloud. I mean, you need to get that mindset. So yeah, that's probably my very long and verbose answer.
Yeah, that's a valuable advice, by the way, because I clearly believe that future belongs to those who are able to blend in, and be adaptable with continuous learning. And, I think they have to turn on to the hybrid mode, by the way, than being, sticking on to the same old traditional, right? Now, finally, between public speaking and data advocacy, and Raspberry Pi experiments and music, so how do you maintain curiosity and continuous learning? And so what's one mindset you would encourage every techie and startup founder to adopt from you?
Yeah. I think there are two things one is you have to be curious, but saying that you have to be curious for me doesn't mean much, because when people say, okay, you have to be curious, I'm like, okay, curious about what? And that's the point. You have to be curious about things that you like. And it's the same as I said before, students coming to me and they say, okay, yeah, but I want to do this, ABC, this and that. And then in the end they say, but I'm not sure if I like computer science. And I'm like, okay, maybe you're starting from the wrong place. Maybe you don't want to be in that field. So curiosity is important, but you need to start from something that you enjoy.
Right.
And I think this is my secret. Of course, I also do some things that I don't enjoy 100%. Now I'm working on huge migration, and I'm fixing a lot of tests. It's a very verbose job, very complex, and it takes a lot of time. Am I enjoying it? Some small parts of it, but for the whole is not really an enjoyable task, which is fine. But what kind of, if we can say that, what brings me on stage usually is the curiosity of things that I like. And one example is, okay, we have this new agentic AI around. I can check a YouTube course, I can take some classes, but then this is not enough. I will never understand how can I use it for real. And the only way I have is to be curious about something where I can apply those technologies. So it's always connected to what I said before. So you need to be curious, you need to find something where you want to apply this technology. And this helps me to find new projects and new things that I want to learn. And you can imagine that, especially when it's about personal projects, the only way I have to implement for real a new technology, to use it for real, is if I really like what I'm doing. Because some personal projects, they're like a 6 months or maybe a 1 year project, and being involved in a project for so long and failing many times, and then maybe you wake up one day and you have a new idea and you tried it out. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. You need to be really engaged. You really want to solve that problem, otherwise you will stop. You scratch the surface and then you go to the next technology, but then you're missing kind of that spark that you get when you can use the technology for real and you can actually solve a problem for real. So that motivates me a lot, and I think is what in the end brings me on stage. That's my secret, if you can call it secret.
Right, and that is a very wholesome thought to end with. So the idea that staying curious isn't just about keeping up with change. I think it's about enjoying the process of discovering itself. Right, right. So with that we have had a very wonderful conversation, and and I really like the concept of combining your data and all the technology with the idea of music and the influence of creativity in it, right? So and how everything together coexist, right? All right.
Yeah, I think creativity is probably the right word. For me, it's always, I see this huge connection between creativity and technologies, and I think they go together. I like to one thing that I have in mind all the times is that even though I'm not a big fan of Apple, but I remember a few words shared by Steve Jobs, which is a person that I never mention honestly because I'm not really a big fan, but I remember these words. He was like, one of my biggest secrets was just like picking the phone and calling people and say, hey, I want to do this, shall we do it? And he said this was really successful, and I think this is also one of my secrets. Sometimes I just like do it. I'm like, okay, picking up the phone, calling someone and say, okay, should work on this project because I really love it, I really like it. And then creates a lot of problems because it gets really complicated when I start working on a project and I'm 100% involved. But it also creates so many new opportunities just because I decided to do it. So, and the creativity is a big part of it, because without it, I will not be able to, like mix all these parts of myself and my job.
Absolutely, absolutely. That is very exciting. And like I tell my students also, I think people need to come up with very creative solutions if at all they want to, do up a startup or coming up with a business idea. Because I think the creativity is very humane, and that's going to give a very real-time solutions, than with just giving them a very instant solution, which is not sustainable.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, it also creates, for me, I also see that it creates a lot of, technically speaking, a lot of bugs. It creates a lot of things that then I have to rethink. And yesterday I was trying to fix a small thing, and I was really creative in the way I fixed it. But now today I was thinking about it, and I was like, okay, it works. It's really cool the way I did it, but I need to fix it at some point. But I did it. I did it, and it created, so many new ideas and opportunities. Right. And that's the part where LLMs are failing, for instance. That's also something that I like to emphasize, that with LLMs, you get a lot of help with some tasks, but when it comes with huge designs and huge systems, they have a lot of limitations. And I'm not talking about not being able to achieve something. I'm talking about we call it technical debts. So the technical debts that you have by using something like that against a huge system. And that's why you still need a human in the loop. And having a human in the loop, now it's something a lot of companies and individuals, professionals are trying to understand how to do it properly, because it's not easy. It's not easy to work with an LLM, together with an LLM on a huge system. It's complicated.
Right. Okay. And thank you so much, Alessandro, for joining us today. I had a wonderful time talking to you. Right?
Thank you. Thanks for having me here.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you so much.